Richards trying to scoot in there alone. It pinballs to the crease. Score!
Let's get it.
Oh my God! Here we go.
You're listening to the Pod Street Bullies Podcast with your hosts, Derek.
How you gonna get it, Bobby?
John. Matt Casey.
Unnecessary, but totally necessary.
And Cody.
What's not to love?
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the NHL trade deadline recap with the Pod Street Bullies. My name is Derek.
And I'm John. What's going on, everybody?
Don't short everybody. It's no show gove.
No show gove.
It's no show gove.
I was on vacation. It's not my fault that none of you read my text messages.
It's not that we're lazy. We just don't care.
That wasn't very nice. I didn't have my cell phone with me, and then all of a sudden I look at it, it's like, John, where are you? I get a private message from Derek. It's like, dude, you okay? I'm like, guys, I'm on freaking vacation.
Well, it wasn't me that texted you. I don't care if you're okay.
It was more so that like Derek and I were like, oh, can we spend an hour together? This is weird.
Yeah. Like Matt Casey said, he's like, I'm gonna strangle this guy. No, John is back after his vacation, and we're joined by Matt Casey. What's up, man?
We're 1-0 in the Tippett era, baby. I'm ready to go.
Woohoo! Oh yeah. And Hoagie, what's up, dude?
Hogs is a goat. What's going on, boys?
Hogs is a go.
No, Hogs is the goat?
Dude, was it a
Giggity.
goat or a go?
Goat.
You're a moron. Go away.
He was going to tell you that either way. All right. Well, let's get right down to it,
He
folks.
wakes up every morning, right? Wakes up every morning, goes, takes a pee, goes over to the mirror and goes, Hogs is a goat.
I just pissed that
Smacks his chest.
The Time Man of the Year.
Mustache.
Oh, Christ. Okay. Well, anyways, sort of a lot to recap, a lot to touch on, at least with one of these trades. We all know the trades. You're going to get all of our thoughts on it, how it all unfolded, and really just a lot of talk about how the Giroux trade unfolded. But first, we decided let's get these other ones out of the way because, honestly, who cares? Justin Braun to the Rangers, third-round pick in 2023. John, your thoughts?
I care about this one.
Do you?
Yeah. I really do, because I have said on this show multiple times that I really felt like this was the one trade that we were going to feel satisfied with the return.
Boy, were you wrong.
Boy, was I wrong. I thought, third round pick in this year's draft, but possibly somebody with a second round pick. People overpay. Apparently not with the Flyers. I'm starting to think that maybe Chuck Fletcher's only a general manager because his dad was once. He's like that guy who inherits the car dealership, and they're like, he really sucks at this, but we'll play games with him every once in a while. But
I've never even heard that scenario before. Like, what is
What a wonderful metaphor.
So anyway, I don't know. There's no way that was the best possible deal available for freaking Justin Braun. I don't know. I mean, apparently the New York Rangers didn't have a 2022 third round pick, but somebody must have. I don't know. At the end of the day, does it hurt this team that he's gone long term? No, it doesn't. But I really just felt like this was one of those pieces where we could have walked away feeling a little bit better and going, hey, we were able to steal that from somebody.
Instead, we got stolen from.
Isn't the benefit of this, though, and again, this is, John, more your world, but isn't the 2023 draft just a hell of a lot deeper than the 2022 draft, and could that have gone into it?
Well, apparently, Brent Flair, whatever, he recommended the 2023 draft, which is a conversation I want to have a little bit deeper when we're talking about big picture stuff. But I don't know, man. When you get to the second and third and fourth and beyond, like it's all a crapshoot. I just feel like they needed some sort of assets for this year.
Right.
And this was an opportunity to get some, and we didn't. I was just like, and he's going to the Rangers.
That's the killer for me, man. Like, I don't know. I John and I both live in the vicinity of New York, and just dealing with all my scumbag Rangers buddies texting me like, "What are we getting with this guy?" I'm like, not a lot. I mean, he's not bad. He's not good. Like
20 games of a third pairing guy. Like,
yeah, he's a third pairing guy. Like he's not gonna win the cup for you, but like he's a nice compliment player. It stinks to lose Braun, but at this point, we weren't going to re-sign him. I'd like to see, I think everybody knew we weren't going to re-sign him. So, what kind of leverage did Chuck really have here besides other defensemen that are younger and probably, have better? Yeah, I guess he has a pretty good cap hit, but so I don't know. I don't mind the trade. I'm glad we got something. I'm not like, yeah, good for you, Braun. Go win one. It's like, I'm glad we got something for you.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not like Giroux went to the Rangers. I'd root for him, but at the same rate, it's like it's Justin Braun. I don't care. Right. Hoagie, what are your thoughts on that trade, man?
Wait, Derek, you were the one that was like hoping Giroux would go to the Rangers. Like,
yeah, they were going to get the best.
Yeah, well,
return
that's a
from the
return. That's a way different. Well, at this point, who the hell knows what we would have gotten?
Who the hell knows? Yeah, we would have gotten that 2023 third round pick for Giroux at this point. But I mean,
woohoo!
This underwhelming. I just like John. I was hoping for a second round or better, or not better. Sorry, second round. I was hoping for a second rounder or better because you're not getting that from Justin Braun, to be honest with you. So I mean, a third rounder. I'm not hating it, but I'm not in love with it. Like Casey said, it sounds like everybody's putting all their stock out into the 2023 draft because a lot of these kids lost a lot of development games and what have you during this COVID pandemic. I'm fighting for words here. I'm sorry, but I mean, 2023 is where
another guy in the business for nothing.
Oh, Lord.
But everybody's putting their stuff out in the 2022 draft.
Man,
I mean, they've now got 3 third-round picks in the 2023 draft. No second-rounder still. They have their first intact. They're stockpiling picks in that draft, which is nice to see because it can be used as ammunition going after some bigger fish. We'll see. Again, that aggressive retool, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this one was pretty underwhelming. This was the one deal, and I feel like a majority of Flyers fans out there were probably in agreement with this. This was the one deal that we anticipated being a decent deal. Looking at the return, looking at what, we traded them in a guy like Justin Braun. And again, we're left underwhelmed. This just, I'm not going to call it a fleecing, but at the same rate, it's like, it just doesn't sit well enough, I guess, with me.
Let me ask you this, though. So let's say Chuck doesn't move him at all. Mm-hmm. How are you? I'm so much more pissed in that scenario. If
sure.
Braun doesn't get moved at all.
Right. Well, so here's the thing, though, Casey, and I agree with you, but I think you look at a lot of these trades around the league, right? And we're always talking about, oh, wow, they were able to get this for that guy, right? Yeah. They were able to score this, and it's just like, for once, I wanted the Flyers to be in that position, right? And I just felt like Justin Braun, it just made sense that he was that candidate. Like, is he a game changer? No, but I kept saying that on a stacked team, to be able to kind of shore up your bottom pairing, knowing that you could slide him up and down if you needed to, right? He comes with tons of playoff experience. He just fit the mold of somebody overpaying for his services.
Right.
Yeah, no, I mean, think about it. We talked about it in the weeks leading up to the deadline. I even mentioned the scenario in which we might end up getting a first because right-handed defenseman, plenty of playoff experience. Not that I was anticipating a first-round pick, but it wouldn't have surprised me. Like, I'm a bit more shocked that we just got a third because, sure, you could argue and sit here and say the 2023 draft is so deep it's like a second-round pick, but it's not. It's not a second-round pick.
Especially at this point.
Yeah.
2023 is a while away in hockey land.
Mhm. And the prospects are even further away.
Right.
Let's just wait until.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So we go from one letdown to another. Derick Brassard ends up in an Edmonton Oilers jersey for a 2023 4th-round pick. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's not a letdown. We got something for him. I didn't think we would
Right.
get anything for him.
You're right. It's better than, giving up. What was it that we gave up when we had to trade Ghost away? But anyways, Hoagie, what are your thoughts on that deal?
Again, underwhelming. I mean, I didn't think he was actually going anywhere, to be honest with you, because if you're scrolling through Twitter like we all were today, or watching TSN, or listening to Sirius, or wherever you're listening to, Derick Brassard was not on the board for Flyers whatsoever in terms of trade talk. I mean, he was all on our boards because it's Derick Brassard and we can get rid of him. But I mean, I said this earlier to Casey, and Casey kind of kicked my ass on it. I hate that we retain 50% of his salary on this. It's just stupid. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
My point is like he makes basically the league minimum. Like,
yeah, I know, but still, it's just Chucky 2 Trades is not doing it for me. Yeah, Chucky 2 Trades is not doing it for me right now.
Yeah. The fact that we had to retain it on a guy who's making the league minimum, it's like maybe it would have been a 5th-round pick instead if we didn't retain. Like, all right, whatever. Like, I don't care, but it's just
because once again, he's the son of the professional car salesman. Where they're going, Chuck, listen, I'll do this deal with you, buddy, but I need you to retain 50%. Oh, but I mean, it's really only just Chuck. If you want to look good, you need to be. God, okay, sounds good.
You're giving this guy voices now.
Yeah,
you're giving your car wielding family voices.
Oh, good Lord! Is it better than singing? Let's put it on the poll.
The pipes aren't working for me today, my friends, so we're just gonna have to go with the voices.
The pipes.
Shut the hell up!
Oh,
I'm gonna kill all of you. All right. So if we're gonna actually be serious about the trade deadline here for a second, what? Anybody else with any other thoughts? Like, are there any other thoughts to this Brassard deal? No. I've got nothing to add. No.
He spells his name the right way.
Shut up. Hoagie's been muted here. But let's get to the real topic at hand here that I'm sure all of you are jumping at the chance to talk about. Claude Giroux dealt to the Florida Panthers in part of a much bigger deal. German Rupstov, who cares? I don't care anymore. Connor Bunneman, and a 5th-round pick, I believe. And we are retaining 50% of Claude Giroux' salary for Owen Tippett, a 2024 protected 1st-round pick, top 10 protected, and a 3rd-round pick in 2024. Or 2023, I'm sorry.
It's protected?
It is a top 10 protected pick, meaning
you didn't know that?
Florida ends up in the top 10 in 2024, it gets converted to a 2025
That was my
round
one
pick,
hope
no matter what.
of this, is that they would just freaking flame out.
Lo and behold, right? Sad, isn't it?
It's
sad.
If
Chuck,
Florida
if you want to
knows
make this trade,
if Florida knows that bad in 2 years, like, I mean, that's going to be pretty miraculous.
I mean,
it'll be fun to watch.
True.
So let's get this out of the way. John, the Mats, are we all completely underwhelmed by this deal?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, unanimously.
Freaking lately.
Absolutely.
We are freaking lately.
Yeah.
Lately, I haven't been impressed by anything Chuck Fletcher's
Hoagie, I
done.
finally just looked at you, and that fucking mustache.
That's what he means by goat.
You look like you're the car salesman stunt. Your name's like Palsy. Hey, Palsy, get out there and sell that Humvee, would you?
Oh God.
Also looks like he's not allowed to be anywhere near a park or a school or a Chuck E. Cheese.
Palsy, these Pontiacs aren't going to sell themselves.
Oh, So the biggest thing to this deal here is the chatter around it. And I mean, we saw conflicting reports from Chuck Fletcher himself, from Pat Brisson, Claude Giroux's agent, from other media members as well. It, for lack of a better term, it confused the hell out of me. It was talked about with Frank Saravalli on the 19th saying he was only willing to accept the trade to the Panthers. That was his team. The destination, Florida, knew that. And then he was told that the Flyers never engaged in conversations with the Avs or any other team for that matter. Chris Therien said there's a summary, and what he said was Colorado made the best offer. G didn't want to go. He's only going to Florida. Florida already used that first-round pick, obviously, for Ben Sherratt. Anthony Sanfilippo from it's just everything's conflicting at this point. And then, you hear it from Giroux himself. You hear it from Pat Brisson through a tweet from Greg Wyshynski. Chuck Fletcher said nothing of the sort in his press conference. What is going on? Like, who are we supposed to believe? What actually happened? And is it ever going to come to light? John?
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, I'm going to start here. I think you can take a look at the return, right, and at least put together some pieces. Claude Giroux was going to Florida, and that's it. Take away the rest of the smoke of whether or not he wanted to come back in the offseason, and Chuck Fletcher said no, so he made it even more difficult. It seems like Claude Giroux wanted to go to one place and one place only. It seems like Florida found that out. And to me, that's probably not very hard to find out. My guess is the agent probably tells them.
Right. They Googled it. Where does Claude Giroux want to go? And 600 articles showed up.
Right. So that's why you get the return you do. And to me, all the other stuff, like, you're going to get a million different versions of what went down, and it was their conflict. But it was clear that Claude Giroux was like, if you're trading me, this is where I'm going. I have my own opinions about that. I know everybody says he's earned the right, la-di-da-di-da, whatever. But that, I think, you can at least take away from this as fact.
Sure. The return is the key there. Seeing what the Flyers got in return already shows you Florida knew what Chuck Fletcher was holding in his hand.
Mm-hmm. I'll say this, that, Giroux had the right to pick it. To pick the team. I don't think anyone in their right mind saw this kind of scenario happening where the team would be this bad that it would actually come to this. Now, where I do say that, like, I wish Giroux had done us a little solid was trying to at least, he could have told Chuck that, hey, I want to go to Florida, but we're going to keep that under wraps.
Right.
Like, that is the one thing he could have done without bastardizing anything else. And I'm repeating a little bit here, but, Bill Meltzer mentioned it on Flyers Daily today as well. You think back to 2007, the Forsberg trade.
Yep.
And Forsberg, he wanted to go to Nashville, but he didn't let anybody know. And that's what kept the suitors coming. And that's what, like, just piled up that offer, which landed us Scotty Upshaw, landed us Ryan Parent, who didn't end up doing anything, a first and a third in that next year's draft, which then we flipped for Chemo and Hartnell. Like, that is a franchise-changing trade right there.
Yep.
In the back of my mind, I was like, man, maybe we get that. No, we didn't get anything close to that. We got Wade Allison's doppelganger, which I'm just so in love with right now. I can't wait to see the two of them together, and, like, I'm actually kind of pumped for it. But if there's one thing I wish Giroux had done, it's that, and it stinks he didn't. But at the same time, I'm sure he could have said, well, I wish the franchise would have actually, like, put some players around me for the last 5 years. Then, I can understand it, but it is what it is. I don't really, even if you said, hey, I want to come back, I want to guarantee, I think we need to move on.
Yep,
like,
agreed.
I think we need to, like, we are at a point, at a crossroads, like Bone Thugs and Harmony style, where they have, we have
what you gonna do.
Now I can't concentrate.
Did it.
Where we have a new core that needs to be formed. We have a new coaching staff that is going to have to be assembled. Like, this team is going to need to get a new identity. And, with Giroux coming back, I think it would have been a lot more of the same. And so, don't wish him harm, but I'm kind of done with the Giroux era at this point.
Hoagie, your thoughts?
I can't wait for like 4 to 5 years from now for Bobby Clark to get on a podcast and spill all the beans. Because there's going to be all types of versions. Just keep coming and coming and coming because we don't know who to believe at what happened. But it was sad to see Giroux leave. Thursday night was the perfect send-off with the 1000th game as a Flyer. Saturday was just very numbing, I want to say, because like we all saw the writing on the wall about like a month ago that he's not staying. Like he's going and he's probably going for good. So very surreal. I think, like Casey said, I mean, I hope he just kept his mouth shut in terms of where he wanted to go. But I mean, now you're hearing Colorado was putting up all this type of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to think anymore. It's just drama at this point. And I think it's just time to move on. At the end of the day, time to move on. Let's create a new face, a new franchise.
I mean, they did mention that he nixed deals to the Rangers and Boston.
Which is amazing. That's
Right.
Yeah.
Which is
good
which
Flyer
is
to
so
the end.
smart.
Yeah. But I mean, again,
Flyer, true and true.
let's be honest, in the next couple of years, say Bobby Clark ends up on a podcast somewhere and spills the beans and says, this is what they offered. And we're looking at, hellish hauls, more ammunition for the Flyers fan base to go off and say, he screwed us on the way out, which I have a problem with because of the way his career here in Philadelphia played out. And maybe this is jumping the shark a little bit here, but in terms of Claude Giroux and what he owes to this franchise, it's nothing. Claude Giroux owes nothing to this franchise. They did nothing for him by not building around him for the better part of a decade when he was here. So in my mind, if that happens to you guys, are you going to be like, yeah, Chuck, don't worry. I'll try to get you as much as I can in a return. I'll go wherever you want me to go. Like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm going to tell him flat out, here's my number one destination. If I'm feeling kind, here's my number two destination. But if you can't ship me to my number one destination, I don't care what you get. That's where I'm going. Mm-hmm. He owes nothing to this franchise. But on the flip side to that, by handcuffing Chuck Fletcher to a trade only to Florida, Chuck Fletcher did the best that he could. Like,
right.
I agree
found
with
myself,
that.
Right.
I found myself being angry at no one. Like, I'm just angry. I was pissed off because, again, Claude Giroux is my favorite player. He's been my favorite player for a long time. But who am I supposed to be mad at here? Am I supposed to be mad at Claude Giroux for wanting what's best for him? Or am I supposed to be mad at Chuck Fletcher for doing the best he can with the crappy hand that he was dealt? Like, there's
Hextall.
nowhere.
You're mad at Hextall.
Right.
We're all mad at Hextall at this point. But there's nowhere, no feasible place to direct your anger at. It's just misdirected anger at this point.
And the thing is, it's like people are obsessed with like the storyline of, Claude Giroux sticking it to the franchise or, incompetent Fletcher. It's like, no, Claude Giroux made a decision that he felt was best suited for him and his family, right? Chuck Fletcher did the best that he could. Now, maybe Claude Giroux was pissed off at the franchise and said, you know what, I'm going to screw you guys. Like, I'm going to make sure that this leaks, but none of us are ever going to know that. So I think we need to back off of that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I got to be honest with you, I'm not rooting for the Florida Panthers to win the Stanley Cup.
No, Derek, weren't you like, I'm going to get a Panthers jersey? Did you say
I
that?
never said that.
Oh.
I never said that.
Because here's the thing. I love it where it's like the Claude Giroux owes nothing to the Flyers, right? They owe zero. Well, guess what? If that's the case, and as a fan, I feel fine with saying I owe nothing to Claude Giroux either. He has done what he did in Philadelphia, and individually, great. He was a great face of the franchise. But I can be just as pissed off that we went nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it wasn't his fault, but he was the face of the franchise. So
it's got to fall somewhere. The blame's got to fall somewhere at that point. And the easiest target is Giroux because he was the captain for that time period. I get that. I don't personally feel that way, but I get it.
I don't know. I think the Yeah, I lost it. Next.
No, this is just, there's so many layers to this, especially given the crap return, the reports that came out about him going here and there and everywhere and whatever it was, offers to this place, that place. There's so much to evaluate when it comes to this deal that this could be a 3-hour show right now. We could discuss this until the cows come home. Like, it's just, at the end of the day,
come home.
Can we talk about the return though? Because I think it's really got me confused where it's like our franchise, Dave Scott, he's like, we're going to have an aggressive retool, but all of the return that we just got from these trades signals like long-term rebuild,
right?
Like a 2024 first round pick.
Right.
Like that might as well be my 50th birthday at this point.
We're 2 to 3 years away from seeing 2 to 3 years away.
And I've got my own feelings about that as a Flyers fan, but it just doesn't match up. I don't know. And maybe there just was nothing else that they could do. But the fact that they're going so deep into the freaking future, it's just like, well, what are we doing? I just don't get it. I'm very confused about the returns that we received.
Here's the messed up thing, though, is that this isn't the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is that Claude stayed.
Right. Yep.
And
we got
nothing. Then we got nothing.
Yep.
And so I don't know. I give Chuck some credit for getting something out of it. I do. I think it's, somebody posted a GIF of Bad Santa, the negotiation with I forget the little dwarf man, and so it's like half. No, what half? And so I think that's what he was dealing with. He's like, I'm not going 1 penny more. It's like, nah, you are actually. So I don't know. I give Chuck a lot of credit for getting something and at least a serviceable potential high ceiling player in Tippett. And the other side, the rest of the return, I'm viewing that as like, all right, we lost Yerman Rubstov, which okay, huge bust, get him out of here. We lost Bunneman, who I think was fine, but if he's, hate to say it, if he's not cracking the lineup on the Flyers fourth line, like how good is he really?
Right.
And so waivers. I think we cleared some contracts out.
Right.
And it is what it is.
That's the biggest part to this that I wanted to touch on too, because what Chuck Fletcher actually mentioned in his press conference was clearing those contracts, because the Flyers do have quite a bit of NCAA guys who they could be looking to bring in. Bobby Brinks, a lot of people, I know John's not high on this guy, but Ronnie Attard was a name that was brought up. You're looking at Noah Cates potentially. Guys that, we do need to evaluate. We do need to see where they stand, how they're going to stack up against, AHL, NHL level competition. And I'd rather see it sooner than later, and this affords the Flyers to be able to bring these types of guys in.
Oh, we just signed Hayden Hodgson.
Yeah,
woohoo.
what the hell?
Good thing we cleared up that Rubstov contract.
Did you guys listen to the Chuck Fletcher presser at all?
Yeah.
No,
I read some bits, but that was it.
I listened to it, yeah.
He seemed very high on just young talent and just bringing them in and throwing them to the Wolves, which to me seems like, okay, sure, but it just sounds like we're
that's what we wanted Hextall to do. That's what we wanted Hextall to do, right?
Exactly. He never did it, but it seems like now we are thinking of a rebuild, because we're just going to throw whatever we have in the system into the lineup and see what can happen.
For the next
next 20, that's how you're supposed to do it when there's no hope.
I don't think it's just the next month of 20 something games. I think it's for next year as well.
Let me ask you this though, look, I understand your point, but we threw wily veterans to the Wolves this year and got freaking obliterated. The Brassards, the Yandles, all these guys. In my mind, when the when this franchise starts to turn the page, it is when we are not picking up guys off of waivers, 3 days into the season.
The
It is
Kevin
when
Connaughtons of the world.
we have the
Whoa,
depth.
whoa.
McEwen's he's a diamond.
McEwen.
I said Kevin Connaughton, not Zach McEwen.
I was defending McEwen. I could care less.
No, but we picked up Sealer, we picked up Connaughton, and we picked up McEwen, and and then
Pat Brown.
Brassard. Arguably, we picked up, and I didn't hate the Brassard deal, and that guy we did it, but I don't want to be in that position. I want to be like, okay, we have this decent farm system that we don't have to pick up these has-been guys. We have guys who are ready to actually step up. And the only way, whether or not, these 20 games, they're still NHL talent. We know it's nothing, but I'd rather see these guys get a shot and, see what we actually have here.
This isn't the NBA waiver wire. Like the NBA waiver wire is like you can pick up big names and guys that can contribute. Yeah, it is. Like you really can't do that in the NHL.
Right.
You can't.
Right.
Your Jerry Mayhews aren't going to help Anaheim get one step closer to a playoff spot.
We forgot that move, by the way.
Yeah, Jerry Mayhew claimed by Anaheim. Mayhew mania is running wild in California now. Yeah, I'm happy for him. I mean, I got nothing against the guy.
I could care less.
Yeah, Phil Myers cleared waivers. Guys, Phil Myers cleared waivers and is down with.
And everybody wanted us to pick him up.
Now.
I know. What? One more year at 2-point-something million? No, thank you. I'm all right. No.
Yeah, if Nashville can't help him develop, hopeless.
Yes, Hoagie.
So, Casey, you brought up we have a great farm system. Fuck you all. I'm sorry. You brought up we have a great farm system. Do we really though?
I'm not saying we have a great farm system. I'm saying when we get to a point where we do have that institutional depth that we don't have to pick up those guys, the older guys, that's when we know things are going well. The only way to really get that depth and it's a rarity that an AHL guy comes up after one season. Like these guys are spending 3-4 years in the AHL sometimes. And so I'm looking at it. It's like, all right, if we're stockpiling these younger guys, it's like, all right, give them a little bit of experience right now. I don't mind that. At the very least, maybe they show something and increase some trade value somewhere. And we can, I don't see the harm in the next 20 games in doing that. But, I also just, I keep going back. Changes had to have been made with Giroux, and we're going to see more in the offseason. As brutal as Chuck is during the trade deadline, he's at the very least exciting during the offseason. And so, I'm kind of excited to see what ends up popping up here. But,
I do want to touch on
our dealership. Maybe that's going to turn into a Land Rover dealership instead of a Pontiac one. Pretty cool.
I do want to touch on the contingency of Giroux coming back because this was another one that had me a bit confused. There were conflicting reports again. Sanfilippo said that was apparently a big part of what was happening because he had mentioned that Claude wasn't really willing to help the Flyers unless he could get a guarantee that he would be back next year. And then according to Sanfilippo, Chuck wasn't willing to do it. Briere apparently was being put in the middle of all of this, trying to facilitate, hey, Claude, help us out, being, Chuck Fletcher's crony, if you will. And then Fletcher comes out in his press conference and says that that's not the case at all, saying that, what do we have here? There was ongoing dialogue with the agent since summer. And then another big thing that kind of, I shouldn't say shocked me, but is interesting and of note is that he's trying to build a core of players under the age of 25.
That's hockey now.
It is. But you're adding Owen Tippett essentially, and that's it. Those picks that you have, sure, they can be flipped, but who are they being flipped for that fits that mold? Under 25, good enough that can be considered a part of this core. What?
So that's my biggest worry with all of this is I'm getting a ton of red flags that ownership and management are not on the same page.
What makes you think that?
Chuck, I know you're saying that sarcastically, but everything that Chuck is saying and doing sounds like, minus the Ristolainen signing, I guess, but sounds like rebuild to me. It sounds like rebuild. It doesn't, but Dave Scott says we're going to aggressively retool. Now, I don't know. It just, to me, it just seems like one thing is saying something, and then they got this other group over here that's doing something that doesn't necessarily match up to that.
Dave Scott's pulling the strings, and Chuck Fletcher's the puppet, in my opinion.
Yeah, but wouldn't that mean that they're in step?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, Chuck Fletcher's fighting for his job.
Right, wouldn't it?
No, you cannot be in step with someone and being essentially against the grain. Like what choice does Chuck Fletcher have? Does he want a job? Because if he does, he's got to fall in line.
But I'm saying that he's not, though. I'm saying that the moves that he's making seem like a rebuild thing, and that's not what Dave Scott wants.
Dave Scott probably doesn't even know what a rebuild is. Let's be honest.
All right, fine, whatever.
No, but it's like Geppetto's there and Pinocchio came to life. It's like
Derek is just out there with his Florida Panthers jersey and his fire Dave Scott thing.
Yeah, fire Dave Scott. Yep, exactly. I was trying to say it. You beat me
Bring
to
back
it.
the statue.
Oh, here
that was
we
a
go.
joke. That was a joke. Let's just move on.
Sure it was.
No, but to me, again, Dave Scott's ignorance aside, I see where you're coming from because these moves are all indicative of a rebuild. What else is there? I mean, Owen Tippett's not the type of guy you're going to build around. He could be part of it, maybe, but he's not anywhere near a centerpiece, which is what some of us thought was going to happen. We were going to get some sort of
No, I never thought we were going to get a centerpiece.
If not necessarily a centerpiece,
you don't get a centerpiece at the trade deadline.
Something better than a Tippett to build around. And no slight on Tippett, but come on. I mean, look at the names that were thrown around between Denisenko, Samaskevich, or whatever, however the hell you pronounce his name.
Yeah,
I thought that are better.
Well, but those are different. Like Samaskevich is a prospect, right? Owen Tippett is not one, though. He's not a prospect at this point. Well, that's why when we were originally, that one deal was floated around where it was like Owen Tippett, Mackey, and that's the nickname for the Samaskevich guy because it's easier to say.
Yeah.
And,
the sandwich guy.
Yeah, bring me sandwich. Anyway, the pick, that just seemed like a deal that made more sense to me. Because, again, he's a prospect. You don't really know, but there's upside there. Owen Tippett and Hokie, you kind of said this, is somebody very similar in the Morgan Frost realm with a little bit more NHL experience to him, but he hasn't panned out.
Right. And we kind of touched on this one.
Matt Casey looks thrilled to be here right now. You doing all right, buddy?
Both my kids have been sick for the last week, and I just heard stomping around upstairs, and now I'm just dreading. I'm like, what am I about to walk into? Let's extend this episode, please.
Let's dive into the Philadelphia Flyers trade history, starting at the franchise's beginning.
Sorry, I'm back.
No worries. So we had touched on Owen Tippett during that high and wide spaces on Saturday night, and a Panthers fan joined. I don't know why he would join a Flyers
to talk
Twitter
about Owen
spaces.
Tippett.
Right. But he said, he's kind of he was capped out because the Panthers have such a star-studded roster that he couldn't break it. And that's exactly what we've seen with Morgan Frost because we didn't have a star-studded roster, but we had
what star-studded roster is holding him?
It's not a star-studded roster, but it's a roster that blocked him from
There's
jumping
people
into
there
it.
preventing him. Yeah, okay.
It's a much deeper roster than what we're looking at here in Philadelphia.
Exactly. So
which doesn't take much.
Right.
Yeah.
But hey, look, sometimes there is just a need, a change of scenery that is needed.
Sure.
I'm not just talking about for Giroux. I'm also talking about for our team in general. I don't know if you guys watched the Islanders game the other day, and look, it's one game. I get it. You're coming off, a pretty emotional thing, even though that Ottawa game was technically the next game. But the power play looked exponentially different. And one of the critiques that I've heard just from sources across is Giroux only wanted to play whatever it was, the left wall. He refused to do anything else. He had so much clout with the organization that they were like, okay, we're just going to do whatever Giroux says. And you know what? Again, he's earned it, blah, 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 blah. But I think from a mental reset standpoint, like maybe it is good for somebody like Frost. Maybe it is time to be like, okay, I'm no longer like, he knows he's not the guy, but he's like, I actually need to step up. We can't just rely on Giroux for power plays. We can't rely on him for everything. Like, I feel like maybe it's just the kick in the ass that everybody needs to say, okay, we actually need to really up our game because we don't have this quote unquote superstar of the franchise still here.
I mean, and as a fan, from a fan standpoint, yesterday's game was the first time I was excited to sit down and watch a Flyer game since I don't know when, because I don't know what to expect anymore.
Right.
But almost in an exciting way. Like, I don't expect this team to be good all of a sudden, 20 games in, but there's a level of intrigue, you know, and that's no insult to Giroux. I'll do that later. But I just think that, like, we needed a fresh start. Clearly, there was something that just wasn't working in the Giroux era, whether it was Giroux,
and we couldn't run it
or
back
not.
again. We could not run that back again.
Right.
No, absolutely not. Now, another interesting thing I wanted to point out with Chuck Fletcher's press conference, at least, is that to me, and maybe you guys don't feel this way, I don't know, but I'm bringing it up anyway because it's a decent discussion. It sounded like Chuck Fletcher kind of went out of his way multiple times to mention that there was no animosity. There wasn't any hard feelings between Giroux and Fletcher, or vice versa. In my mind, that states that there is some sort of animosity. Like, if you're going to go out of your way to say that, like, trying to console the fan base almost at that point. Like, I don't care if there's animosity between Chuck Fletcher and Claude Giroux anymore. I don't. Like, it doesn't bother me because Giroux's not a Flyer anymore. But, like, to mention it so many times, to bring it up almost out of the blue, seems to me it's like, you know, are you guys gonna sit here and be like, yeah, man, there's no animosity between us, but like, what would have sparked that, you know, type of response?
PR bullshit.
Yeah, I think he's just reading the Flyer tabloids, you know, like the half-baked art out there.
Oh,
because that's what people want. That's what people want, right? They want there to have been animosity. They want there to have been this conflict and falling out, because there's no way that Claude Giroux would just screw the Flyers like that unless there was a falling out, you know?
Yeah. Fair point. I mean, anybody else have any thoughts on that?
No, I don't know. I didn't watch the press conference, but I'm not reading too much into that. You know, and even if there was, I don't care.
Right.
Yeah, it's just drama at this point.
Can I be honest with you? I kind of hope there was some. I really do.
There has to be. There has to be.
Here's the thing too: is like players are so like, yes, I'm sure Chuck and Giroux had conversation, but like all that stuff happens with the agent and the GM and like the assistant GM. Claude's not sitting there doing his own negotiating. He's like sitting at his kitchen table, like, you know, having a grand old time, getting phone calls whenever something happens.
And you know, we don't want Claude Giroux to have been part of the problem. I got to be honest with you. Yeah. I really hope he was part of the problem and we've just eliminated part of the problem. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he was, but think about it that way. If he was part of the problem, he's gone.
Right.
You're hoping for an answer at this point. You're hoping next season we just turn into a different team and
we have to get rid of another winger and maybe a cranky defenseman, but
I don't want to talk about that. But
we need something else to talk about.
Laying the framework for it, boys.
We have plenty to talk about this offseason.
We do. Well, John wanted to get to a couple things here too. So, John, take it away. Let's have some discussions about that.
He has no idea what you're talking about.
You said you had some things you wanted to get to in accordance with Giroux and like bigger picture stuff.
Well, no. I'm wondering, like, what everybody thinks about, like, these last few days with the trade deadline, right? I'm just curious what everyone's thoughts were, because to me, right, I felt like I would start to get answers to the directions of this franchise after the trade deadline. I felt like the return that we got would help me kind of paint a picture of what's going to be coming up next, and I didn't get any of that. You know, I mean, Owen Tippett, cool, you know, great. Can't wait to see it. But I feel more unsettled than I expected to.
I don't know. I I have no idea what direction this team's going to go. And I do hope that somebody knows, like, at least like what kind of, I look back, not to totally sidetrack, but I look back 2 years ago. Actually, I guess it was last year. Like last year was obviously another dismal year. But my biggest qualm, I was like, we're not big. We're not fast. We're not overly skilled. We're not like a dispensably sound team. Like we're nothing. We have zero identity.
Nothing.
We're nothing. And so it's like Zoolander looking into the puddle, like, who am I? And so, I look at this as like, okay, last year we removed a major organ of this team, which was Jake Voracek. This year we removed the other one, which is Giroux. And yes, there's been collateral damage in both years. I look at where we are right now, despite the record showing it, I'm more optimistic right now than I was last year at this point. Now, take the offseason now, because I was actually really optimistic after the offseason. But like at this point, trade deadline last year, I was just like, what are we even doing? Like, I don't even know what we're possibly doing right now. This year, at least, it's like, okay, we have somewhat of a clean slate. We have a bit of a younger-ish core. At least Farabee seems like he's stepping up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm sure there's some others in there. And so, I just feel like there's an optimism, but at the same time, I'm nervous because I don't know where the hell this is going to go. But I hope that we at least say, all right, we're just going to be a grinder team or something, like some kind of identity and then
something
there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, good points. All good points. We just want direction. We want to know where this team's going to be. We want to know what they're going to be. And, getting rid of Giroux is, I think, one of the final steps in that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now it's the changing of the guard. I mean, you can't get more changing of the guard than this.
Yeah. You got rid of Voracek. You got rid of other guys last offseason, and you brought in new guys. And Giroux really was the only one left from that core. So,
JVR is still here.
Yeah. JVR is still here.
Because no one wants him.
Can I bring up one more thing?
Go. I was about
How the hell does Ryan Ellis not know if he's going to have surgery yet?
I was just going to say that too. How is it possible?
It's not Ryan Ellis. It's Chuck Fletcher. He doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Okay. How does somebody not know whether this guy?
How does the general manager not know?
Doctors. It's somebody.
We're still looking at other stuff. It's like, just do it. Have the surgery. Come on.
Is this guy getting like experimental procedures or something? Like, is that what this is about? Like, let's try this.
Guys, don't worry. He'll be good for opening night. He'll be good.
Maybe.
And 4 games.
Maybe.
And then he's
We're hoping he'll be good for opening night of next freaking September or October, whatever the hell it is. Are you kidding?
What is that, 2023?
Kevin Hayes had how many surgeries so far this season, and he's back?
He's had 4 in a calendar year.
He's actually starting to look good again.
Yeah.
I mean, that game against the Islanders, he had 2 goals. It looked fantastic. Right. That line with him, Farabee, and Konechny looks awesome.
I think Konechny has looked really good in the last 2 weeks, to be honest with you.
Boost that trade value.
Bang. There it is.
So who do you? All right, let's play this game. Who do you think is the first one out the door in like a offseason hockey trade? Like, who do you think realistically gets moved? I'm not saying for what. I'm just saying like, who are we Sophie's choicing out of this bad boy?
Ivan Provorov.
Think so?
The more and more I'm reading through the tea leaves, I just feel like, talk about animosity. I feel like that one's getting hard to hide.
I think it's Sanheim. I mean, I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I think it should be Provorov, but I can't help but think that with his contract, he's got 1 more year after this year, decent enough cap hit where he could go somewhere and be a pretty damn good defenseman. Mm-hmm. Maybe they give it another year on Provorov to see if Ellis can stay healthy and see if it's the same impact that Niskanen had. I'm past that. Like, I think he is what he is, and he's just a number 1 guy on a team that doesn't have a number 1, a healthy number 1, I should say.
Right. Hoagie, who you got?
I'm with Derek. I'm with Sanheim because I think he's played well with Ristolainen. Sorry, oh boy. And I think he's increased his trade value, and teams are gonna want him.
Yeah, but if the issue is to get rid of, negative people to the culture, then from what I'm reading and hearing, right, it sounds like Provorov would be the move and they commit to Sanheim. But I don't know. Casey, how about you? Man, you asked the question, but what do you say?
I'm going different. I think Frost is out of here. I think he's going to go. And I think it's going to be part of a large – I don't think it's just going to be him. I think it's going to be
Provorov and Frost.
It might be. But I'm looking at somebody who I just don't think he has it here. And as like optimistic as I want to be, I don't see it. And I think he's one of those guys that just, again, Tippett situation. Maybe he just needs a change of scenery to start breaking through. And before his trade value starts to plummet even more than it has, like we gotta get something for him.
We better attach it to somebody else, because if it's just Frost straight up, it's going to be for another Tippett type guy.
We're going to get another 2023rd third.
I just hope he looks like Wade Allison too. Somebody Google any other redemption stories that look like Wade Allison. Then go place that bet. He'll be on the Flyers.
Right.
How good would it be if we ended up with like 6 2023 third round picks and be like, yeah, now this is what we want.
Chuck Fletcher's keeping the ginger thing alive. He's just bringing in his own gingers.
But that's part of a bigger thing too. Like getting rid of Morgan Frost is something that, Hextall kind of left his mark in a way. Not like a giant stamp on the franchise, but that's a Hextall guy.
Right.
And GMs come in, they get rid of the guys that the other GM brought in. So Frost could very well be out the door. Wouldn't be entirely upset about it.
Let's not go too far into this. Remember, we're going to use these topics to save the rest of our show this season.
Yeah.
All right, don't go too far into it.
Right, well, I won't, as long as you can make it to those shows. But
Up water sliding down the Kalahara.
He was drinking sparkling waters.
oh,
Smoking Jays with his rich buddies down Wall Street. I'm getting crap for taking my kids to Great Wolf Lodge.
well, yeah, because you didn't tell us.
In fairness, he did. I assumed
Shut
he was on
your
with
mouth,
something.
Hogan. Shut your mouth.
I'm the goat.
No, you're a dick. That's what you are.
Where'd you get the goat thing from? Did you just decide that was going to be your shtick?
Yeah, that's something that's bestowed upon you, not something you bestow upon yourself.
Yeah, it's much
It was-
cooler if you don't call
It was
yourself.
an Apple review.
Yeah,
They
again,
bestowed it
you
upon
bestowed
you.
it upon yourself.
Like, which one of your coworkers left their desk for 5 minutes so you could leave that review?
Are you kidding me? I
I'm
live
gonna
in
make it-
Boston.
I'm going to make it real creative. Folks, is the goat. Bleh.
In fairness, that is the first review we've gotten in months, so at least it was 5 stars.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it'll get evened out by another podcast that doesn't like us. Who knows?
Right, FNG.
But okay, if we're gonna save everything here because we still have to figure out content for the rest of the year, we'll put a halt to this. Are there any lasting thoughts? I'll go to you first, Hoagie.
Scott Lawton for captain.
Matt Casey.
No, I got nothing. I got nothing for you.
John Gove.
I'm interested in watching Owen Tippett. Everybody keeps saying, hey, it's because he just couldn't find a spot with all the depth on Florida. I'm hoping that's true. Show us something these next 20 games or whatever is left.
Agreed. I'm anxious to see what draft day looks like. If there's framework laid for deals at the trade deadline, I'm very anxious to see what those deals are going to end up becoming.
That's a fair point because Chuck, the Ellis trade, that was 2 years in the making. And so,
Right. Oh yeah. Everybody thought it was going to be Ekholm or, somebody else. And
isn't it great that if Ellis plays 3 more games, we've still won that trade?
He won't.
Ridiculous.
Though. He's done for the season.
What a wild.
No, I'm saying even next season. If he plays 3
he
games,
never
next
plays
Oh,
again.
okay.
This time next year, they're still going to be questioning whether he should have surgery.
like, well, we thought about it over the offseason and we still don't know. Okay, well,
We're
get
hopeful
out.
for 23-24.
That's when we make our move with our thirds.
Right.
Aren't
I'm
we all,
actually
baby?
waiting. I'm actually waiting for somebody to call up Chuck and be like, Chuck, you know it's 2022, right? Shit, it's the wrong draft.
Dad, what my calendar? My foresight calendar says
Toyota's on it.
2023.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, before it gets any more off the rails here tonight, just want to shout out to our affiliates here, Flyers High and Wide. Guys over at 5 Minute Major as well. Hoagie and Casey were on that earlier tonight. Should be coming out same time as us, if not already. So check that episode out as well. Hoagie, where are our fine listeners going to be able to find you on Twitter?
Wait,
Pod Street Post.
are we doing a dad joke here?
And I'm going to hit you with a dad joke because we're doing it.
Let the goat have his moment.
Hit me with a dad joke.
Meh.
Have you ever thought
No.
"Do not touch" must be the most terrifying thing to read in Braille?
Ooh,
Fair point.
that's more of a M. Night Shyamalan kind of
Turns out they're in modern day. The Village.
They're
The
getting
Village,
younger.
That movie still makes me angry. Is it weird that movie still makes me angry?
What?
Never seen it the
The
whole way through.
Village.
No, I never saw that. I mean, I saw The Sixth Sense, and then I saw like the really terrible one that he did with Bruce Willis, where like he can like lift a bunch of weights, and then
Unbreakable.
Samuel Jackson like can't cross. Samuel Jackson like is like the Wade Allison of the movie, where he just gets hurt in the street.
Well, then he came out. See, M. Night Shyamalan has a good way of like getting me into a movie, and then by the end, I'm like, what?
Let down, just like the Flyers.
Like the movie with the guy who's got like 20-something personalities. Did you guys see that one?
Yeah, I know what you're
I know
talking
what you're
about.
talking
And it's like by the end, he's like eating human beings and like summon some other. I'm like, what? Huh? What did we do?
Where is this coming from?
What?
Anyway,
Yeah.
Anyways, Matt Casey, where can they find you, man?
hey, Pod Street Casey on Twitter. Give me a follow. Give me a shout. All right.
Is that spelled out?
CASCUI.
There it is. John Gove.
Well, you can find this podcast on all your various podcast listening receptacles, including but not limited to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, Amazon Music, YouTube. Hoagie, you're doing all sorts of weird hand things, and it's making me nervous.
Don't touch.
What was the one that you like, Casey? Pocket Pool?
I do like Pocket Pool, but Pocket Cast.
Pocket Cast, right.
There you
Yep. iHeartRadio for no one who listens to iHeartRadio. Does anybody listen to iHeartRadio? Is that a thing anymore?
No.
No.
No, I didn't think so. All right. Well, shout out to iHeartRadio anyway. But yeah, that's it. Google us.
Wonderful. You can find me on Twitter at Pod Street Bob. John's on Twitter at Pod Street Gove. You can find the four of us on Twitter at Pod ST Bullies. And you can find another episode same time next week.
St. Louis.
And you can find me
right? No date. No. Some guy.
shoving something in my ear so I don't have to listen to this shit again. Anyways, that's been it for us. You guys have a wonderful rest of your week. And woohoo.
Bye now.
Bye now.
Bye now.